Another Day, Another Story. The Vegetarian, by Han Kang, is a novel that tells the story of Yeong-hye, a woman who decides to stop eating meat after having a series of disturbing dreams. The novel is divided into 3 parts, each told from the perspective of a different character. Welcome to Tabo Eminent Channel. Part 1, The Vegetarian. The novel opens with Yeong-hye's husband, Mr. Chung, discovering that his wife has thrown away all the meat in the house and has started a vegetarian diet. He is initially annoyed by her behavior, as it goes against societal norms, but he becomes increasingly disturbed by her strange behavior and her refusal to eat meat. Part 2, Mongolian Mark. The second part of the novel is narrated by Yeong-hye's brother-in-law, an artist who becomes fascinated with Yeong-hye's body after seeing a birthmark on her buttock that he believes resembles a Mongolian mark. He convinces her to model for his artwork, which becomes increasingly erotic and violent. Part 3, Flaming Trees. The final part of the novel is narrated by Yeong-hye's sister, In-hye, who becomes increasingly concerned about her sister's mental health. Yeong-hye has stopped eating altogether and has become fixated on the idea of becoming a tree. In-hye tries to get her sister help, but she is ultimately unsuccessful and Yeong-hye dies. Gender roles. Throughout the novel, the characters struggle with gender roles and expectations. Yeong-hye's decision to become a vegetarian and reject societal norms is seen as a threat to her husband's masculinity and power, and her brother-in-law's art project is an attempt to assert his own masculinity and control over her body. Meanwhile, Yeong-hye's sister, In-hye, struggles to balance her role as a caretaker with her own desires and aspirations. Mental health. Yeong-hye's mental health deteriorates throughout the novel, and her behavior becomes increasingly erratic and unpredictable. Her rejection of food and her own body can be seen as symptoms of an eating disorder or body dysmorphia, and her fixation on becoming a tree can be interpreted as a form of psychosis or delusion. Sexuality. The novel contains several explicit and violent sexual scenes, particularly in the second part of the book. Yeong-hye's brother-in-law's artwork becomes increasingly erotic and violent, and Yeong-hye's own sexuality is explored in the context of her desire to become a tree. Individuality. At its core, The Vegetarian is a story about one woman's struggle to assert her own individuality in a society that values conformity and obedience. Yeong-hye's decision to become a vegetarian is an act of rebellion against societal norms, and her ultimate rejection of food and her own body is a rejection of the limitations that society places on her. These themes are all interconnected and contribute to the haunting and thought-provoking nature of the novel. Throughout the novel, the characters struggle with societal norms and expectations, particularly with regard to gender roles and individuality. Yeong-hye's vegetarianism is a symbol for her desire to break away from these norms, and her ultimate rejection of food and her own body is a rejection of the limitations that society places on her. You can also discuss the various themes explored in the novel, including mental health, sexuality, and family relationships, as well as the novel's critical acclaim and cultural significance. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel.